Opening cinematic hook. The digital clock on the courtroom wall read 11:43 a.m. Lunch recess was scheduled for noon. Inside courtroom 9A of the Manhattan Federal Courthouse, everyone believed they had 17 quiet minutes left. 17 minutes to breathe, 17 minutes to pause, 17 minutes before the world outside would fade in again. No one knew those 17 minutes would erase careers, collapse legal empires, and permanently scar the American justice system. Because before lunch, the defense was about to be arrested. Scene 1. A courtroom that felt too normal. Judge Eleanor Whitman adjusted her glasses and reviewed her notes. 38 years on the federal bench, hundreds of high-profile cases, zero scandals. She was known for one thing above all else: absolute control. The courtroom reflected her personality: quiet, disciplined, predictable. Defense table. Marcus Hale, lead defense attorney, elite Washington insider. Jonathan Reeve, constitutional law authority. Daniel Cross, trial tactician known for aggressive defense strategies. Their client sat silently behind them, a powerful political financier with deep ties to donors, lobbyists, and former officials. The prosecution was mid-argument. Everything looked routine. That's what made it dangerous. Scene 2. The envelope that shouldn't exist. At exactly 11:44 a.m., the courtroom clerk hesitated. In her hands was a sealed envelope. No motion had been filed, no recess had been requested, no notice had been given to either side. The envelope carried a federal seal, classified markings, witness protection identifiers. Judge Whitman noticed immediately. "Approach," she said quietly. The clerk handed it over. The judge read the first page, then the second. Then she stopped. Her posture changed. This was not supplemental evidence. This was emergency material. Material that suggested people inside the courtroom were not just defending a client, they were interfering with justice itself. Scene 3. Lunch is canceled. Judge Whitman looked up. "There will be no lunch recess," she said. The words were calm, but the effect was immediate. Reporters froze. Spectators leaned forward. Defense attorneys exchanged subtle glances. The judge continued. "This court has received sealed affidavits alleging active witness intimidation, unauthorized contact with protected individuals, and coordinated obstruction of federal proceedings." That sentence landed like a bomb. Marcus Hale slowly stood. "Your Honor, with respect, we request—" "Sit down," Judge Whitman replied. The gavel struck once, hard. Scene 4. When marshals stopped blending in. Along the courtroom walls, U.S. Marshals had been standing quietly all morning. Now they shifted. Not stepped forward, not reached for cuffs, just shifted. Anyone familiar with federal courtrooms knew what that meant. Something was coming. Daniel Cross whispered to Hale. Jonathan Reeve stopped writing. For the first time since the trial began, the defense stopped looking confident. Scene 5. The evidence that changed everything. Judge Whitman began reading from the sealed documents, recorded phone calls, encrypted messages, time-stamped meetings, evidence suggesting that a protected witness had been threatened, a relocation address had been leaked, a court officer had facilitated unauthorized access, and the names mentioned, they weren't outsiders, they were people inside this courtroom. Judge Whitman paused, looked directly at the defense table. Her voice lowered. "This court finds probable cause that crimes have occurred during the course of this trial." Scene 6. The moment before history. The digital clock ticked, 11:56 a.m., 4 minutes before lunch. Judge Whitman straightened. "U.S. Marshals," she said. The word echoed. "Prepare to act." Cameras zoomed. Pens dropped. The courtroom held its breath. No one moved yet, but everyone understood. Lunch was no longer the next event. Arrests were. No one walks out. The arrests that redefined American justice. Scene 1. The first step forward. The courtroom clock froze at 11:57 a.m., 3 minutes before lunch. Judge Eleanor Whitman remained standing. The gavel rested in her hand, but her eyes were fixed on the defense table. U.S. Marshals, she said again, slower this time. Step forward. 2 marshals moved first, then 4, then 6. Not rushing, not dramatic, professional, controlled. The sound of their boots echoed louder than any shout could. Marcus Hale swallowed hard. Jonathan Reeve adjusted his tie, out of instinct, not confidence. Daniel Cross didn't move at all. Scene 2. The order that changed everything. Judge Whitman spoke clearly, knowing every word would be recorded. Based on sealed affidavits, digital evidence, and sworn testimony reviewed by this court moments ago, she paused. I am ordering the immediate detention of the following individuals pending formal arrest procedures. Gasps filled the room. She read the names, one by one. Each name felt heavier than the last. 3 defense attorneys, 1 federal court officer, 1 external legal consultant seated in the gallery. This was no longer a trial. This was an operation. Scene 3. Handcuffs in a federal courtroom. The first click of metal was quiet, but it carried. U.S. Marshals secured Marcus Hale's wrists. Cameras exploded. Jonathan Reeve stood up instinctively. A marshal raised a hand. Sir, don't. Reeve froze. Moments later, the cuffs closed around his wrists too. Daniel Cross finally spoke. This is a mistake. Judge Whitman looked directly at him. Mr. Cross, she said, this court does not make mistakes at 11:57 a.m. without reason. The cuffs snapped shut. 3 elite attorneys, men who had argued before the Supreme Court, stood restrained inside a federal courtroom. Scene 4. The officer exposed. Then Judge Whitman did something no one expected. She turned not to the defense, but to the side door. Officer Reynolds, she said calmly, please stand. A uniformed court officer hesitated. Everyone followed the judge's gaze. Officer Reynolds stood slowly. His face had lost all color. Judge Whitman continued. Evidence before this court indicates you provided unauthorized access to witness data, relayed protected movement schedules, and facilitated off-record communications. Silence. The judge nodded to the marshals. Take him as well. The irony hit the room like a punch. The man assigned to protect the court was being arrested by the court. Scene 5. The defendant left alone. At the defense table, the defendant sat frozen. No lawyers, no advisors, no whispers of strategy, just empty chairs. Judge Whitman looked at him. You are now without legal representation, she said. The defendant tried to speak. She raised her hand. You will remain silent until counsel is appointed. For the first time since the trial began, power had completely shifted. Scene 6. Why it had to happen before lunch. Judge Whitman addressed the room. This court acted before recess for one reason, she said, because recess creates opportunity. Opportunity to destroy evidence, opportunity to contact witnesses, opportunity to flee. She continued, when justice is threatened, time becomes evidence. Reporters typed furiously. This wasn't just a ruling, it was a judicial doctrine moment. Scene 7. Media eruption outside the court. Within minutes, the courthouse steps were chaos. Breaking news banners flashed. Defense team arrested mid-trial. Federal judge orders detentions before lunch. Court officer implicated in witness threat scheme. Former prosecutors appeared on live TV. This is unheard of, one said. I've never seen defense attorneys arrested before recess. Another analyst added, this suggests the corruption ran deeper than the defendant. Scene 8. Washington feels the shockwave. In Washington, phones rang non-stop. Lawmakers demanded briefings. The Department of Justice issued a rare midday statement. The integrity of federal proceedings must be protected at all costs. Behind closed doors, one question echoed. Who else is involved? Scene 9. The judge's final words. Back inside the courtroom, Judge Whitman gave her final instruction of the day. "This court will reconvene tomorrow," she said. "New counsel will be appointed." She looked around the room. "And let it be clear, no position, no title, and no lunch break stands above the law." The gavel struck. This time, no one moved. Final ending, strong outro. As marshals escorted the arrested individuals away, the empty defense table remained in view, a visual reminder that on this day, justice did not take a break. Fade out.